Hey everybody, what's up? So today, here on AbbySays, I've kind of allotted today's to be like a Q&A because the more vlogs I do, the more I find you guys are asking me to talk about things, so we're going to talk about things. Now keep in mind, I haven't actually even looked at these questions that I've got before, literally, like right now, I'm about to read them in front of you, so I haven't pre-thought about my answers or anything, so if they're a little bit scattered, that's just because that's how I think. So the first thing comes from Sailor Moon Japan, but the first A in Japan is an X. They asked me, best places to buy Sailor Moon merch. I would say, you have your sort of standard CD Japan and J-List. They're kind of the two big ones that I find have the most Sailor Moon merch, and everyone uses them. A lot of people have sort of issues with J-List, like they've had issues in the past or whatever, but I've never really had that, other than things being shipped and taking forever to get to me sometimes, and even that's usually only when I pay for like the cheapest shipping, so I've never had an issue. There's also Amy usually has some nice stuff, but they don't usually carry as much Sailor Moon stuff as CD Japan and J-List, so there's definitely that. Of course, if you want some of the original 90s merch, you're going to have to go through more like the eBay route, but that can get a little bit sketchy sometimes, so let's just buy the fancy new stuff. They also asked me my favorite senshi and why. Okay, so my favorite senshi is obviously Sailor Mars, and I think I've kind of had to accept this, that I think Sailor Mars is my favorite because I see a lot of my own traits in her, but then I also see things that I wish I was, Sailor Mars is kind of almost the natural born leader, at least in the anime. She's very strong and she's independent and she, won't take no crap from nobody. She's very strong in that sense, but every now and then we do get to see her softer side when Usagi really needs her or when any of them really need her. She knows when to push people and when to not, and that's something I really have always loved about her. I also always loved that she kind of always expected more from Usagi than Usagi ever even really expected from herself. I always felt that Rei saw that, really strong fighter, that really, person who's going to save the world in Usagi, but then Usagi was usually, especially in the beginning, just, crying about how she didn't want to do it. So I always took that as Rei was like, come on, I know you're better than this. I know you can do this. But she didn't put up with Usagi's crying and whining, if you will, whereas Amy was more compassionate about that. So that was another thing that I always loved about Rei, was that she was a tough cookie. They also asked me, why do I love Sailor Moon so much? Why do I love Sailor Moon so much? I don't even know. I can't even remember a point in my life before Sailor Moon because I don't think there was. I've talked about my sisters a lot on my blog on Exo Sailor Mars, and I'll sort of reiterate that now. I do have two older sisters and one younger sister, and my eldest sister watched Sailor Moon all the time when I was younger. She was a huge fan, and she still is. She even painted a mural of Eternal Sailor Moon on our basement wall at one point. My mom didn't take a picture of it before she painted over it. And so I've always been around Sailor Moon, and I remember when I was younger watching it with Emily in both the dub and the sub. And so that was sort of something that I had in common with her, and it's still something that we can talk about together, If all else fails, Emily comes over and we can talk about PGSM, or we can talk about merch, or we can talk about fandom wank. Who knows, It's something that sort of brought us together as sisters, and that's a big chunk of why I love it. And then, of course, there's the generalness that it's just a really great story, and it's a really great atmosphere to be around, the Sailor Moon, everything. I just love it. So, yeah. The next part of this person's question is favorite season episode. Ooh, I don't think I could pick a favorite episode. I could not, especially in a series as large as Sailor Moon. There's 200 episodes, I can't pick. But my favorite season is obviously Super S. I love the Amazon, the whole Amazon, the trio and the quartet. Mainly the trio, just because I always found them arrogant and, narcissists and all that, but it was always to me sort of in the funny, comic relief sort of way, and it was never too serious, they were never as, sexist and evil to me as, anime Jedi is. And so I always really loved that about them, and then of course they redeem themselves in the end, which is my favorite thing in a villain. Other than that, I really just feel like aesthetically Super S is very pretty. Everything is very pastel-y and watercolory and pink and flowy, and the theme of the season is a Pegasus and this land of dreams, and it's very, very pretty and very girly, and I love that because I love pretty girly things. Okay, so my next question comes from Lavender Matrix, and it says, Would Neo Queen Serenity be considered a deity goddess? Also, I love your vlogs. Keep up the good work. Aw, thank you. Now, wouldn't Neo Queen Serenity be considered a goddess? I don't think so, because, in my opinion at least, because I think Neo Queen Serenity, I don't think she's at that level, you know? Usagi grows up, and Sailor Moon goes away, and she becomes, like, queen of the world, you know what I mean? But I think Sailor Cosmos is the next step after that, in my opinion. People debate who Sailor Cosmos is all the time, but I always saw Sailor Cosmos as sort of the next step. Neo Queen Serenity is like her, like, president of the world form, and then after that, that's when she becomes a goddess, if you will, and she becomes Sailor Cosmos. That's just how I see it. I've seen like a cajillion different theories. I could go on for hours about all the different things I've seen about that. So you Google it, maybe there's like fics or something of it too, but in my opinion, I don't think Neo Queen Serenity is a goddess. Other than a goddess in the sense that she's like a babe, because she is a babe, but not in like the actual goddess sense. Alright, so Senshi of Mom is my next question. Thank you, by the way. You're always sending me such lovely things. 1. Has there been a moment in the 90s anime that made you cry? Yes. Spoilers right now for anyone who hasn't finished Stars yet, but the moment that made me cry is the moment that Usagi finds out that Mamoru is dead, because I'm totally oblivious all the time and never even moderately thought that he was dead. We see the plane blow up. How did I not know he was dead? But I didn't know. And so when she finds out, she's all shaky, and even Seiya's like, oh god. I was like, for days after that. Just ask like any of my friends. I was still in high school at the time. Like, ugh. 2. I've been thinking about Haruka and Michiru in the S season. Do you think they have the right idea when trying to stop Hotaru at all costs? Is Usagi right in saving Hotaru? What if it didn't work? Now, I see this debate a lot too, actually, and I have to side with Haruka and Michiru on this one. Hotaru, if she became Sailor Saturn at the time, that general consensus was that she was going to be the end of the world. This one girl, yes, she's a little girl, but she's going to destroy the world. So I'm with Haruka and Michiru on this one. I get that Usagi's got the pure heart and she wants to save everybody, and eventually she does save everybody. So clearly she's in the right here, but if I was a Sailor Senshi and they were like, yo, this girl's going to become the thing that can ruin the world, even though she's just a little girl, I'd have been like, out of here, bye. And I had one other question, and this one's from an anonymous, and he just asked me to talk about my ships, and specifically the Senshi Shitenu ships. Now, so my issue with the ships is that I'm a sucker for canon. If people are going to be together, I want to see it. I want it in my face. I want to see them together, and I'm not really good with that whole sort of, I don't know, pairing people together that have no sort of chemistry in the show together, like I see a lot in other fandoms. Attack on Titan. And so I would have to say that there's definitely some pairings in Sailor Moon that I love. You know, gotta love Usagi and Mamoru, and as weird as it is, a piece of me will always love Seiya and Usagi, just because I love Seiya. The Senshi Shitenu really depends on which incarnation you're watching, because I think Rei and Jedi would never, ever, ever happen. He's a sexist pig, and she's like the best like girl power person ever. That would just never go together, because she would kick his ass all the time. But if you're going with like PGSM, she's still the same way, but then Jedi is not as much of like a sexist pig. He's more of like this like wimpy guy who's just crying all the time. Yeah, it really just depends on the version, you know. In PGSM, I almost ship Nephrite and Amy, but I wouldn't ship them anywhere else. But the one that I really ship in like every single version of Sailor Moon is always Matoki and Makoto. Even before I ever even saw PGSM, I thought they were perfect together. The other ships that sort of get talked about a lot are the Senshi with each other. Now, again, for me, it really depends on the version that you're talking about, because, you know, in the manga, there's definitely a lot more inner Senshi business going on. You know, you have that iconic panel of, you know, Minako feeling up Usagi. There's some stuff going on there, but I don't see that in the anime at all, you know, and there's Rei and Minako in PGSM, and there's Usagi and Amy in PGSM. So really, I have a hard time putting all the canons in one big pot, because everything is so different across the board. So I would think that the two ships for me that sort of cross all the barriers of versions of Sailor Moon are Usagi and Mamoru, and Makoto and Matoki. Those are the two big ones, and then for the most part, the little side ones all come and go for me, depending on the version. Sorry for this like super unoriginal answer. And so, yeah, that's kind of all I have to say in this week's vlog. This is the first Q&A vlog. If I get any more questions ever, I'll make another one, but you know, it's up to you guys. Also, I'm kind of out of vlog ideas, or running out of vlog ideas, so if you guys have any other ideas, you can shoot them on over to me on Tumblr, exosailormars.tumblr.com/ask. That's how you message me. Or you can shoot them below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to me on YouTube, and also follow me on Tumblr, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye!